Hi, welcome to ICP Content Conversations. My name is Wadey and I head up the Technology and Innovation Services team. I've been working in the content operations space for about the last 15 years. Should have a good conversation with Dan.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, Al. Hi, I'm Dan Rowe. I'm the Chief Innovation Automation Officer at ICP. I've been working in and around marketing operations and marketing technology for a similar period of time as Al. And looking forward to the conversation.
It's a brilliant time to be working in the space because it's just massively evolving. And from a technical perspective, it's huge. But I know from how we're evolving in ICP, and ultimately why I wanted to join ICP, was because we've seen that change. And whereas previously we were very much looking at manual effort, and now we're looking at automating that all. That was the main reason why I wanted to come on board, because I could drive that from a technology perspective, but obviously you have more of a understanding of how we were doing it previously and what the opportunities were. So where did that come into play? How did you kind of realise that we needed to change? What kind of drove it from a business standpoint within ICP?
It's a really good question. Thanks, Al. I suppose I've always been around. I've always just been personally interested in innovation and automation of some level. So going back, sort of, in the prior sort of parts of my career, was getting involved in early forms of automation, automated advertising, automated production. So there was this inherent desire to see automation and what value it can bring to people and companies, and how it can effectively, I guess, take away what you describe as mundane activity or activity that's repetitive, that you could see, you could liberate, or you could free up that talent to do more in the business, much as other industries have done, of course, robotics, engineering, and so forth. So kind of there was an inherent interest there, and of course I had a background in both in sort of software development and technology as well. But then really within ICP, as I looked at what we've done as a business, we've got a scaled content operations, and we're really flowing through and processing and touching millions of assets a year, which is a phenomenal success story. But as I looked forward, to the next 1, 2, and 5 years, I kept coming up with the concept and context that more content, coming back to what we were saying earlier, the vast growth in content just means more people. And I couldn't see a world in which either that is sustainable, or not least of all, it would come down to a commodity price. And the last thing we really want is to have our skilled people as a commodity and just being bought on a price. So thinking about pressure that would inherently come, and thinking about scale and that, and the variance of all the content, and the need to help clients continue to get value out of their damn platforms in this new era. So I started thinking about automation in general, and this predates, as you know, this is when we first started talking. Yeah. But I was thinking about ways in which we could automate, ways in which we could innovate, and we'd see those maybe as more like tactical or small solutions for particular scenarios. And then as we started to sort of form that strategy and that thinking more broadly, realizing there's an opportunity here to do something more scaled and more transformative. And so I knew when you came on board with your background, and based on our discussions, I felt, we can really transform this business. And we can allow our people to be the best they can be, of course, but also give the best value to our clients, more importantly, and really have conversations with them that are around things like, so your content volumes are going to go up by 300% next year or in the next 3 years. We can help you with that. You don't need to have 1,000% growth in headcount or people and so forth. So that was really exciting to me, seeing how we can do that and also transform our workforce and give them the benefit of technology. So I guess how I started thinking about it was back to there. Yeah. But even that thinking has evolved dramatically since you and I have been working together in the last year, as you know. And I think it's probably a good segue there to talk about, I guess, platform versus point solutions and discrete automations and things like that, because I know you've brought that lens to it as well. So maybe tell me a bit more about that and your thinking around that.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting when I joined, because we had the Automation Council in place where we were looking at automating capabilities for our customers, for our clients, but it was very much in terms of, we'd go to client X and we'd be, okay, well, actually, what can we do in that specific area for that specific customer? And what was happening was, that's the right thing to do. And we were looking at trying to create additional value to our customers, trying to do things better, trying to improve productivity, collaboration, all of those different bits and pieces. But the problem is you find in any organization, just by the nature of how it works, it tends to be departmental or product-based or project-based. So everybody's looking at doing their own kind of point-to-point changes for a specific client to improve automation in a certain area. And actually, really what we needed to look at doing was, well, is there anything we can do where we can look at building some capabilities that can be used not just by our own staff within ICP, but also directly by our customers or our clients to be able to help support that content onslaught that everybody is getting within the organisation. So I thought that was really, really important. And I think that the thing that has been phenomenal over the last 8-9 months that I've been here is the amount of change we've already seen. So actually, when we look back at it in June, the thought process that we had back then is still 100% validated, but we're building on it and we're building on it and we're learning from different clients, different proposals, different problems that we're seeing to be able to build and expand that platform-based approach. The problem we do find with it, nobody's got an infinite amount of people or an infinite budget to do that. So it's working out what do you focus on that gives the most value to the biggest set of clients in one go. That's definitely an area that we've seen we should be focusing on more and more. And one of the big things that I kind of noticed as we've been going through it is around rights. So there's always been the problem around rights in terms of, we've got this actor in this video. Have we got the rights to use it in this region, in this language, whatever. But what's now happening is when we're creating net new content from existing content that, it's originated from something, but it is, for all intent and purpose, completely new content. It still originates from somewhere. So there are still rights associated to that original piece. So being able to have that chain of command becomes even more complex than it was previously. Previously, you'd have somebody kind of modifying a piece of content and then going, okay, well, that relates together. But now, are we getting content from external areas? Are we getting content internally? Are we creating net new content from the ground up? Being able to understand all of that requires a lot of support within our teams that are looking at ingesting and enriching content. So I guess, one of the big things that we need to look at is, as we're starting to build out the platform support, the platform capability, what can be automated, what requires human in the loop interaction, and that's a huge area that we haven't really got to the bottom of yet. I think we're still learning in that.
Still working it out, yeah.
But I think the great thing is that we can do that. We can learn from our clients, working with our clients, which is phenomenal.
Yeah. And I think the potential, I mean, you talk about the rights, that's a whole area, isn't it? I think also the potential to kind of organise efficiently and effectively their content at scale. So allowing them to create the content they want for their brands at this pace and speed they want to, whether that's generative, whether that's reused from the DAM, whether that's coming in from an external tool. Going back to your point earlier, actually, was quite exciting. It was a little point you mentioned about platforms specifically and their ability to connect into unstructured data sources. Yeah. And I think what we're doing as well is playing an essential part in that with our platform thinking and so forth. Really, the ability to say to a given client, okay, you've got content over here in 10 places. You're not at the point where you've got that organised into one place. Well, we really want to help with that rather than go with a people first approach, which is, it's going to take, 10, 100 X people to do that, which in some cases then becomes a friction point for our clients and the brands, because can they afford to do that? Have they got the time to do it? We really want to go with that superpowered human in the loop approach, which is using a combination of the right skill, as you say, to validate, to run automation tooling or to run a platform, but using technology for what it's best for, which is to go and help gather that unstructured data, turn it into structure in some fashion, and then make it available and distributable and reusable. So that's kind of pretty exciting, right? That we're doing that, and I think for ICP and for you and I, probably sits at the kind of the top of our sort of to-do list every day in terms of interest. Yeah,
and I think the other aspect on that as well, the other bit that we've spoken about quite a lot, as well as we've obviously got our clients, our customers, but we've also got the vendor landscape that we work with. And one of the things that we want to make sure we don't do as ICP is we don't want to be seen as creating competitive products to the vendors. We want to be seen as we're facilitators. We're the services partner that kind of brings everything all together. So it's also looking at how do we partner with the vendor landscape to make sure that what we're building and what we're creating is helping them to grow and expand as well, and to be delivering a better service to their customers. Because ultimately, one of the big things I always say when we're running projects is, we could be working with a DAM vendor, the client, and ourselves, and actually we're one team. If the product or if the solution that's delivered doesn't work, it looks bad for everybody. So we need to be working together with the same common goal to achieve value. So that's another area that is definitely top of mind when we're talking about what are we developing from a productized standpoint within ICP. It's a facilitation platform. It's not a new DAM vendor or PIM vendor or anything like that.
It's a really important point you make there, because you and I have probably both been on in many platform implementations in our careers, and what's really, once a client's agreed and decided they're going to go with a new platform, obviously they've got all the promise and hope that's going to deliver. But then invariably these projects hit these friction points, so getting the content from the old platform, the data from the old platform. And it's really frustrating for both the client and for the new incoming vendor as well. They're struggling to realise value quickly. So I know we've talked about this a lot, and an obvious place to take that friction away is to work on that problem. Is how do you get content in one format and in one area, one platform, into the sort of target state, into a new platform, and realise that value. So there's an important point on your point about not really duplicating, not doing a me too, essentially doing something that's actually genuinely usable for the industry, that the industry has struggled with for decades and is going to struggle more because of everything that we said earlier in terms of many millions of pieces of more content and bits more data and so forth.
More to migrate.
So I think migration is the word, but I think it's often an undervalued but such an important part of a new platform, because it's the first touch point that end users have with this new experience. Is what's there, what can I do with it?
And I think that's huge, and that's one of the kind of biggest things that I always push for when we're doing a new implementation of a platform. Is there's reasons why you're moving off of your old platform, and it's just human nature that people have gone into work every day for many years, and they've created almost processes around the limitations of the existing platform. And what you tend to find when you go into a new implementation program, when you have almost like an as is and a to be model, you find out that the people you're working with, the stakeholders, are kind of trying to replicate what they've already got in the new system. And it's like, well, you're moving off that old system because it's not fit for purpose, it's not doing what you want it to do. So why are you trying to replicate exactly the same processes in your new system? Surely what we should be doing is looking at, well, forget about the platforms, forget about the products. What do you want to achieve as a business with the technology? And then we can work that out for you. So what that then does end up being is you do then find that once you've got to the bottom of all of that, there is a big kind of digital transformation piece around the content. You're wanting to move the content from data model A to data model B. And what you find with a lot of customers is, that there's a time period where they've got to get off the old platform, or there's a cost associated to it, whatever that might be. So it's always a lot quicker than you want it to be in terms of the time you've got to do that. So it's important for us, and that kind of goes back to the productized side of it, is we want to make sure that when we're doing that migration, we're doing what's best for the business, not what's best for the time scale we've got to do it in. So the more automations, the more productized capabilities you can have to be able to pull content out of the old system, churn it up, change it up, rework the data model automatically to pull it into the new system in your new data model, which is going to be easier for people to find, reuse, repurpose, all the stuff we've been speaking about. That's huge. And I would say that's one of the biggest reasons why people don't re-platform, is because they think it's going to be too difficult to get off of their old platform and to get onto the new one. So the more we can do to facilitate that, the happier the customer's going to be, the happier the vendor's going to be, and obviously therefore the happier ICP are going to be in terms of delivering value. Yeah,
absolutely. And it is a problem I think I've seen for decades in the business. And that does that. It slows the pace of innovation, like you say there. We can't move because of the cost, because of the effort, and so forth. And technology is moving on at such a pace that as a kind of chief marketing officer across a large organisation, you really can't afford to have your technology stagnant, or be stuck in that sort of that older type of technology. So almost a byproduct of the industry now is having to continuously innovate and look at technologies and be prepared for change and lean into that. But I think this is right. It's where we can help, and I think that's where we've helped tremendously with our current models and how we work with our clients. But it's also really exciting to think about what we're going to be able to do and what we are doing already with clients around platform-enabled delivery services versus the traditional models.
And I think one of the other kind of really interesting things as well is generally when you talk about migration, it's a one-off thing. You're doing it when you're going from platform A to platform B. But with customers we're working with, enterprise scale global brands, that's not the case, because there's acquisitions on a hugely regular basis. So, you've got that whole idea of onboarding a brand that you've just acquired, and they've already got their content stored over here, and you're wanting to bring it over here, and you're wanting to move it into the way in which you've got it structured, so that it's not then, okay, now I'm going and looking at brand X's content. The whole point when we're talking about reuse, repurpose, all of that, is you want to have one data model so that the search capability is the same across the board. So I think as well, when we're talking about what we're doing to ease that migration pain, it's not just a one and done, it's a constant evolution. When new brands are coming on board, when maybe a customer has found another bunch of content they want to bring across. When we look at archived content, it's another area that tends to almost be forgotten about. It's like, oh, that's archived content, that's old, we won't use it again. Actually, well, you could do. And why wouldn't you want to potentially reuse that older content to be able to build up your data that supports all of the agents, the LLMs, everything that's kind of building from that. So I think it's a huge part, not just in that initial stage, but ongoing